So hello, everyone. And we have what I believe will be a really special conversation today. The topic for today is diversity, but more specifically within diversity, how to be more relevant and address the LGBTQIA plus community. And we've got some experts here with us today to help us inform our perspectives in terms of how we should be thinking about this diverse community and what we should be doing from an advertising and media perspective. So I'm going to give each of them a chance to introduce themselves to you before we get rolling. We'll go ladies first with Amanda.
Thank you, Louis. Hi, I'm Amanda Benz. I'm co-founder of Infinity Partnerships with George here. And we started this company about 1.5 years ago, and it's an ad tech consulting firm, and we focus on inclusive advertising.
Awesome. George, you want to go the other half of the partnership?
Yeah, other half of the pie. Yep, George Manny founded Infinity Partnerships with Amanda 1.5 years ago. We spent a lot of time at different trade conferences through various jobs together. It kind of became clear that there was need for representation specifically within advertising and sales and business development roles within advertising. So that's how we began to kind of get together and talk about this concept. We have a passion for inclusivity and action and execution within this vertical. So we're excited to have this conversation with you, Louis, today.
Right on, right on. And Matt, tell folks who you are.
Good to meet you all. And Matt Skallerud. I've been in the LGBT internet space for almost 30 years now and started a gay website back in the day. And so started with helping clients figure out how to promote themselves through banner ads and email campaigns. And I sold all that, but then I just continued to stay in the market, and I kind of grew up morphing from banners and emails into where we're at today with social media and video placements and programmatic advertising and so forth. So I've just tried to stay current with the technology and help companies figure out how do you reach a target market in the LGBT online space.
Right on, right on. Well, so the good news here is, and there's good news, bad news. Bad news is, I think we all acknowledge from advertising from a diverse context isn't doing enough. I don't think anyone would sort of argue with that statement. Good news is the three of you are here continuing to fight the way forward. And so let's just kind of get a pulse from each of your perspectives in terms of, what has the quest looked like in the past few years, and what do you think it looks like today? Within that, you might say, you might ruminate on what you perceive to be some of the bigger gaps, but obviously you're hopeful and encouraged about the future. So let's, if we can, talk to both sides of the coin. We've moved slow, but we have moved. And sort of what is the prospect for the future?
Yeah, sure. I think I can take a first pass at this. I think that brands and agencies have always wanted to be inclusive in their marketing, and they've always wanted to carve out budgets and do what they can, but they're continually being tasked to do more with less. And unfortunately, there's just not enough scale sometimes with websites and things. And there's really just been a lack of technology and tools to help them really do more in this space. There's also sorts of blocking, keyword lists, site lists, SPO from agencies. There's all these factors that contribute to things like that. And I think just, they're trying to do the right thing, but more needs to be done in terms of technology and tools to make it easier for them to execute on that.
George or Matt?
Yeah, Matt, I would love to get your kind of thoughts about that, given, you spend a lot of time with the travel vertical. Would love to kind of understand your opinion.
Well, I'm just looking at it from from that broader perspective. It's really the technology and the acceptance of technology and mobile phones. All that has just been changing in some ways quicker than I think sometimes we give credit to. And so, it was a different time when I would even work with agencies and help them figure out how to get their clients out there more on LGBT websites. But technology caught up to the, and now with programmatic and so forth, they're now able to kind of go on and do all of that themselves to figure out, how do I target on, whether it's like Amanda was saying, site list or using data, and how do I target with banner ads, and now video on connected TVs, and all that same technology allows them to place ads on social media. And so there's been so much of a evolution of that. And even for our own company, we have found that one of the best places for us to kind of continue to grow is actually in the storytelling side of all that. So because there's so many of these agencies and even companies, small businesses, large businesses, they're able to do a lot of the traditional ad placements themselves. But when it comes to the storytelling aspect and trying to get their story out there, there's still really good opportunities when it comes to we still actually send our clients press releases and articles directly to editors for possible inclusion on websites, which is very old school in some ways. But the other side is that we'll end up doing a lot of targeted Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and so forth, in terms of really utilizing a lot of the latest tools to really also kind of sidestep any other media and get our clients directly in front of the audience they're trying to reach.
Mhm.
Right on. So, at this point in time, we think about programmatic channels and SSPs. Are there well-developed SSPs for the LGBTQ community? Where do we stand on that issue? And as an industry, what can we do to keep sort of the industry moving in the right direction and get one of those things set up so that
I can take that question.
Sure, go ahead, George.
Okay, perfect. So I believe no. And I think that the problem is kind of perception with regard to LGBTQ, right? The question is, what does LGBTQ mean, right? And there is not really an understanding of that from a marketer's standpoint. I think the challenge has been that a marketer believes that LGBTQ should be aligned with 1 month out of the year, which causes disingenuity, right? And separately causes lack of brand loyalty. If there's only messaging 1 month out of the year, your consumer lives throughout the year, doesn't disappear for 11 months out of the year. So I think from a SSP standpoint, to answer your question directly, Louis, endemic publishers face challenges with scale on their owned and operated properties, right? But what needs to be acknowledged is the fact that individuals live multi-dimensional lives, right? So I am not only going to go to an LGBTQ publisher all day, every day. Like, I will do different things throughout the day. So marketer needs to be acknowledging of that. And, their media strategy needs to be accommodating of that too. So
you stole a little bit of my thunder there, George, but that's okay. We'll come back around. So yeah, you make a good point. As a matter of fact, Cheryl Dejad Bridge and I did an op-ed last year, probably May, because I think we were ahead of the curve, about the gay community isn't only gay in June, and Black people aren't only Black in February, right? And so and this perception thing is an interesting thing, right? So I think there is probably a temptation by companies to sort of, in some sort of not well thought out perspective on being fair, equitable, and diverse, right? They commit to Women's Month, Black History Month, Gay Pride Month, but people are living these realities, and some of them stark in nature, 12 months a year. And we kind of made the argument that perhaps rather than trying to do, the sprinkling of feigned interest, right? That you really understand what a diverse community can mean to your business, and have a year-long relationship with those consumers so that you can develop that in a way that earns you respect and repeat business. So, all right, so we just got through with Gay Pride Month. a scant week ago.
Yeah.
Anybody have any thoughts on sort of how we did this year?
Well, I want
industry?
Amanda and Matt to speak to that. Like Amanda, like if you could speak about Cannes and kind of, what you thought about that from Gay Pride. And I want Matt to speak about that too, from his standpoint, in the tourism and travel space.
Yeah, absolutely. This was my first year at Cannes and coincided with Pride Month. And just because they were doing the same month, I thought there would be a lot more attention on Pride and a lot more conversations happening, but there really weren't. There was several conversations about inclusive marketing and what brands and agencies can do, but I felt like it was very high level. There wasn't really a lot of actionable commitments that people were making of how they were going to actually market to the LGBT community year round, not just in the month of June. And, how can they be more inclusive in their messaging? And I mean, I saw this stat from Ipsos recently that 70% of LGBTQ customers are more favorable of a brand if they see multiple genders and orientations in the ads. And it's like, well, if this is such great for your brand, why wouldn't you do this year round? Why would you only do this in 1 month? And I don't know, maybe people were a little bit scared because there's been some recent backlash, but it was just really a high level conversation. I didn't see a lot of actionable, insights coming out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that sort of reflects again, where the marketplace is. Some sort of consciousness that we ought to be doing better, but a lack of sort of resolve in terms of taking that step forward and actually putting a plan into action.
How are we going to do this? Yeah.
The scale issue is one that that plagues the African American and Black communities. I think Latino, at least from the perspective of there are distribution channels measured by the major outlets on Spanish language, right? But it kind of lives in that world. It doesn't live the whole diaspora of what it means to be Latino. And we haven't made much progress on differently abled. So so across the board, in terms of sort of diverse communities, there's a lot of stepping up that needs to happen. So Matt, so George referenced a perspective from the travel industry. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I didn't see anything really change for travel specifically. Most of our travel clients, we work with like Palm Springs, Miami, and so forth. They're in it more long term, and so yeah, Pride Month didn't really have a whole. It wasn't as big of a on their radar as it was just a lot of the things that have been going on during the entire year so far. So even with some of the backlash that we saw coming into June, the travel side didn't seem very impacted by that at all. That doesn't mean that other destinations moving forward might think twice before they start jumping into the market. But and so for us it was very stable. But I did talk to others in the industry that had larger brand clients on board, and most of those, if anybody's promoting themselves in June, they've probably gotten themselves set up and their marketing plan and so forth was already set, probably March or April, and so June is just the execution time. And so I do know that I've talked to some others in the industry that they had a number of cancellations at the last minute in June. So that I think is the unfortunate part, that I don't have a lot of details on exactly who, what, where, but I just know that the folks that we're talking about that were feeling rather sucker punched by everything that had happened just at the moment when when the switch was going to get flipped to start executing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and you may not have seen this one coming. So when we think about Pride Month and sort of what typically happens, we see a lot of rainbow flags, we see short shorts, we see stereotypical
Crop tops are the new thing, Louis.
Huh?
Crop tops are the new thing.
We see a very stereotypical approach. From your perspectives, I mean, I think that's outdated and we need to grow beyond that, and everyone doesn't sort of fit this stereotype. Any words of wisdom for how advertisers and agencies, for that matter, might think about how to portray stories about LGBTQ community members in less stereotypical ways?
Can I take that?
Sure.
Okay, so, my thought, Louis, to your question is that the marketers need to be more authentic in how they're talking to their customers. Because I buy Tide, right? I buy Tide Pods, right? I'm not going to buy Tide Pods like 1 month out of the year. Like I buy Tide Pods, like I could be motivated maybe to buy something else. Like if there's like a compelling reason to do so. Separately, to your point about rainbows and unicorns during 1 month out of the year, right? I think there needs to be an acknowledgement that the LGBTQ space gets viewed and the multidimensionality gets kind of crushed into a one-dimensional piece during that 1 month out of the year. And that's not reflective of the population. That's not reflective of the impact that the population has for your brand, right? So I think that is the conversation that needs to happen. And hopefully we're starting the conversation with you today.
Right on.
I was going to pipe in though, and over the years, there's a company, Community Marketing and Insights, based out of San Francisco, California, and they've been doing LGBT research studies for years, and they publish their findings every year and show some of the differences. But one of the stories that they brought to market in some of their conferences and speaking gigs was really making it clear that the LGBT community is not all one thing, and they've really shown through statistics about how there's LGBT parents, and there's bears, and there's all these different subgroups. But not only that, but they really sliced and diced it into lesbian, gay, transgender, and how they approached a lot of this separately, as well as age demographic differences. And so fortunately, the story has been put out there for companies, and that's just going to continue. We're going to have to continue to reinforce that, because once upon a time, it used to be if you wanted to do a gay ad, you just threw a bare-chested man out there and call it.
Yeah.
Right on.
That you want to, Amanda,
and on the lesbian, sometimes whether they were really actual lesbians.
You cut out for a minute there, Matt, but I think we got like.
No, what did you say?
Oh no, Amanda. What I was going to say is, remember we had that meeting in Cannes where our friend mentioned, if somebody sees themselves in the ad, they're more likely to have a positive affinity to your product. I don't know why it's so hard, right?
I agree.
Right?
And the pink economy has $1.4 trillion in purchasing power. So it's like, why wouldn't you be marketing to these people year round? Why just 1 month, and why, in kind of a stereotypical way, like you mentioned, with like the rainbow flags and unicorns. Like, let's evolve past that. Yeah.
Well, I think part of, and I'm gonna just little sidestep here, in Bridge, one of the assertions is, you've got to have diversity on the inside to push that diversity to the outside, right? And so, maybe this is a good call to think about, what are the composition of your brand and agency teams, right? So that you have some internal voices, helping you to find that authentic place. Because I think, George, to your comment at the beginning of this particular question was the idea of being authentic, right? And if you don't have people on your team, you can't find that gravity point of authenticity. Like, why are you doing it in the first place? All right. If you're going to do it, how do you do it in the best way possible?
And that was not to interrupt you, but that was what was missing from all of the Cannes conversations. Like, what is it's like the why, like, why is this important? Why is this fundamentally a necessity for your business?
Yeah.
Nobody can answer that question.
Right. Right.
Everybody just wants to feel seen and heard and included. And the only way to do that is to have, like you said, Louis, have a diverse team on the inside that can help push that outward.
Right. Good, checks and balances, right? Rather than people guessing what people like in that community would respond to, and then run all the communities, right? Gay, differently abled. So getting it right on the inside can help manifest getting it right on the outside as well. From one man's humble opinion. And Matt, I'm gonna have to go get that source from you on that San Francisco group. It sounds like they're doing awesome work, and we need to bring that forward. So prognosis better than the past, but lots of room for growth. Amanda, any sort of thoughts in terms of what tools and technologies can sort of bring right to the future of a more egalitarian approach to the gay community?
Absolutely. My recommendation to marketers would be to just remember that the community is multidimensional and that you can reach them everywhere on the web, or their phone, or on connected TV. It's not just on one specific website like Equal Pride or Pink News, and to, involve using audience targeting, contextual targeting, and also include images of people with various sexualities and orientations in the actual creative too. And then also just market year round as well, not just in the month of June. But really, there's so much technology out there right now with the SSPs. Just use that to your advantage to reach these people everywhere, and not just, on endemic sites 1 month of the year.
Okay. Matt, from your perspective, we talked a little bit earlier, and you said, you've gone from recommending how to participate in media sites to your business is really about storytelling. How do we take storytelling to the next level? And if you could just speak to the power of getting stories right.
Well, that's what people resonate with, and it doesn't matter whether it's the written word, whether it was stories even told through various photos at things, or of course video. Video is very strong nowadays, and so getting that out there, first creating this content, and I always say, if it's video, keep it short form, because you want people to pay attention to what you have to say, and that's the attention spans nowadays are more for short form, and that's a longer conversation. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but then from that point, then it's just these tools that are available to us to get that story. Just as Amanda was saying, there's so many different touch points, and I think it's important to kind of adapt your story to every one of the touch points. So realizing that if you're going to reach people on Instagram, besides photos, you're going to focus more on like a short form video that's done in the story aspect ratio format, and you're going to keep it a certain length and so forth. But you're going to make a different version if you're focusing on TikTok, or if you're going on LinkedIn, or you're going on Twitter, and every one of those has their own style. And then once you go out and take the video into the programmatic world, and you want to get it onto websites and so forth, just like, again, as Amanda was saying, there's so many different touch points and opportunities for us, and it's just a matter of where do you want to get that story out there to the best audience that's really right for you.
Yeah, great. Can I tease that out a little bit, Matt? So I know that in the scheme of getting things done, and you've got working media dollars and non-working media dollars, right? Yeah. There comes a point in sort of the planning process where there's stress over how many pieces of creative do I need one for TikTok? I need one for Instagram. I need one for Facebook. I need one for TV. I need one for podcasts. Can you speak to a little bit maybe how mutable some of the stories are from platform to platform, or do you need the time and the resource really focused at all of those individual sort of entities in order to sort of come out the other side the way that you originally intended?
Let's just focus, if we just focus on video, because that's the one that has the most options for creative. Everything else is much simpler, photos and written word. With video, we tell our clients first that, well, the overall premise, the short form is designed to get people excited and motivated to view the long form. So if you have a longer story to tell, even if it's like 10 minutes or more, then it's a video in this format. It's out there on YouTube, is a great place to just host it. And then everything else is just smaller clips. You can do simple, then it's not so much a matter of having to do a lot of work. You're just making, and we just dumb it down into a 2-minute clip this way, 90-second clip this way. And that's the most universal. We make 2, throw those out there on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook Reels. We put the verticals 2-minute on Twitter. We put the 2-minute on LinkedIn, and everything then from that 2-minute, 90-second to 2-minute links to the YouTube video and links to the starting point time-wise where that video left off. So what you're doing though is that you're meeting people halfway. So if somebody's on any social media, they're not there to watch a 10, 20, 30, or, a lot of these videos are 45 minutes to an hour. That's not what they're there for. They are there cruising along, checking out their feed at a certain speed. You've got to understand that and then just simply catch their attention and then hopefully hold their hand and bring them to the next level. And that kind of strategy makes it, what your question, it makes it much, much easier when it comes to kind of putting that strategy together.
Sure. Because that's, people get hung up in that discussion about how much customization do I need, right, in order to sort of cover my obligations. All right, George, anything that I left out?
Yeah, I think, you did fabulously. You didn't leave anything out, but
oh, good.
But I think one, something that, just to emphasize what Amanda said about just being respectful of your customer year-round, because when you look at your neighbors and your friends, they probably know somebody in the LGBTQ community. They might have somebody within the LGBTQ community within their own family, right? So this kind of messaging that kind of, is respectful and aligns with kind of that will be ultimately beneficial for your brand, right? So I think we need to kind of move from this like polarizing thing where there is focus during certain times of the year just to kind of, equity throughout the entire year. And I think we'll all be in a better place at that point.
Right. Well, again, I think that takes time to take inventory about sort of, and one of the things that, BSI we're going to get into soon is sort of, what is your kind of social commitment, right? To your brand and your company, and sort of representing all the different facets of how your brand thrives and grows over time, and to make more deliberate choices and committed timeframes, right, to doing all of the right things that you need to do to get the messaging right, because I think when it resonates, you win loyalty.
Yeah.
And Amanda's earlier point, there's a ton of money out there to be had. Why not put yourself in front of it?
And what would make us all happy, what would make Matt happy, Amanda happy, myself happy, would be to hear LGBTQ focus every month, right? We could be in September. Okay, great. Like holiday season, right? Where that needs to be a common goal that we push towards. But Louis, with the work that you're doing at the BSI and Bridge, like we're confident that we can get there. Awesome.
I'm confident that we'll get there too. It'll just take time. And as you know from meeting Cheryl out in Cannes, there are 72 business practices, right, that impact how you sort of organize on the inside and motivate on the outside.
Mhm.
And so, look for more information as companies begin to go through sort of the process so that we can sort of understand where are the key focal points based on sort of where you are in your sort of diverse maturity, right?
Mhm.
From getting started to being an advocate. And what are the levers that you can pull along the way to get you there faster or with more certainty? And that will be a good day, indeed.